Well, hello and welcome to our home workshop. Today we're going to be building something in the workshop from scratch, some nested tables. I've spent some time in SketchUp drawing up the table that I wanted, and as you can see that allows me to work through some of the technical details with regards to the joinery and the pattern and design that I want to do. But today I'm just going to cut out the main pieces of wood to give us our overall structure, and then over the coming days we'll build the pattern into the table to actually give it some character. So this is our top, and the overall dimensions are 500 by 400, and we need one of those. This is our side. Again, the overall dimensions are 400 by 500, but we need two of those. On our side, our overall dimensions are 464 by 230.6. So let's get cutting. Right, so I've managed to find some spruce plywood, just kicking about. Now this piece is 1220 by 530, so that should give us enough for our three main pieces. And then I've managed to find another smaller piece, again unfortunately not from the same sheet, but spruce plywood all the same, which is 1220 by 255, so that will give us enough for our back. So let's mark out the larger piece and get that cut. Right, so I'm just going to mark this out to 500. And then we'll bring our track saw in to cut this piece. Right, so I think because we've got three of these cuts to make, we'll make this 400 cut on the table saw. Right, so we've got our table saw set up now. As you can see, that's 400 from the blade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this sliding fence, this noisy slided fence, to get those cuts and to make them repeatable. Let's get those cut now. Right, so we've got our three pieces cut now, and they're a little bit over 400 and a little bit over 500, so they'll be perfect. So we'll put those to one side, and now we'll cut our back. Now I've just cut that one to 464, bang on, which is nice. And then this is just under 250, so 248. And obviously that gives us a bit of room to space the pattern in this block. So now we're going to mark up for the mortise and tenons. So we'll do that. We'll need to do that on all four pieces. We're going to start these cuts off on the table saw, and then we'll have to finish them off with a jigsaw. Right, so we've got all four pairs of those cuts done. As you can see, we're on either side of the lines on each one, which is great. Now we just need to trim away the excess with either the table saw or a jigsaw. Now, a jigsaw is actually the last tool I like to use because they are horrifically inaccurate. But we need to cut this section out. So this is the piece in between the two tenons. We're just going to use just a standard blade to get that done. So we'll get that cut now. So we're just going to clamp by spirit level, clamp something square to these, just to trim away this piece of wood here. Hopefully you can see that. Right, so we've got our square set up now, and all we're going to do is we're going to flip it over and cut along this edge. So this can get a bit loud, so if you're using headphones then please be aware. Right, so let's get this other bit cut. Right, so as you can see, we've got some really nice clean lines now. Got a little bit of clean up to do in the corners. We'll just do that with a jigsaw and a chisel, just to keep that nice and tidy. And then we'll get on with our mortises. Right, so these are our 3 pieces lined up end to end. All I'm going to do is I'm going to line each piece up to make sure it's square with the end of that wood. I tend to just leave a little gap so I can eyeball the gap. Make sure it's square on the ends, and then just draw our lines in. Now these are going to be recessed in a little bit, so those lines aren't the final cuts. Now if we have a look at our sheet, you can see that our overall dimension is 500, and to the outer side of each of these tenons is 464. So that means that these tenons are recessed by 18 on each side. So 18 and 18 is 36, plus 64 is 100, and that gives us our 500 total. So we just need to recess these tenons in by 18mm. Right, so there's each of our lines drawn out on each corner. Now we just need to cut those out. So I've just got this jig set up for cutting the mortises. Now what this is, it's just 2 pieces of wood that are parallel, and that allows my router base to move inside and cut an 18mm recess in the wood below. So I'll bring you in a bit closer so you can see that. So I've just lined that up, so you can see on those lines that we've done earlier, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out that hole in the middle. Well, welcome back on day 2 of the build, and the reason it's hit 2 days is because I made a mistake. So if you can see, the hole I have cut is too big, which means that this wood is no longer any good. We can still use it for the rest of the tables just by cutting off this top bit and using this bottom section, so that won't go to waste. So what I've been doing this morning is cutting our side pieces. So cutting our tenons back in the top. We've done 2 of those, and then cutting our top. So I've done it a little bit differently, and I'll talk you through how I've done it this time, because this way is a bit easier. See, those are nice and square. So what I did is I marked the holes out as normal, and then pushed a forcing a bit through it just to give us a bit of space. And then what I've done is I've built a second template just with some pins in, just to get some purchase on the wood, and then that just goes above our hole, and then we use a flush trim bit to cut through it. Alright, as you can see, that's cut our hole really nicely. So need a file round the inside of that just to make it all nice and square. And what we're going to do with the tenons, we're just going to round the tenons over so they fit in there perfectly. there's our second set of exposed joinery. Got a bit of chip out around the edges, but I'll show you what we're going to do about that in a minute. And there's our table. If I can get it just in shot. So back piece still to go. That should give us a nice, nice start. Right, now what I'm going to do. There's a classic woodworking term. If you can't get it accurate, then hide it. That's exactly what we're going to do here. What we're going to do is we're going to recess this joint a little bit to add a little bit of extra detail on the front. So you'll see we'll come in a little bit here, and the same on the other side. And that'll do two things. One, it will create a really nice clean line on both inside and outside corners. And the other thing it will do is bring these proud a little bit, and then we'll just sand those off. Right, so I've decided to cut these dados on a table saw, and it should be a bit easier. And as you can see from our test piece, I'm doing an 18mm cut here to bring us 18mm in from the side, and then I'm doing a 34mm cut here to allow for the thickness of the blade, and that should give us our gap. Right, so that's both of our dados cut. Just going to clean these up very quickly. Right, so let's see if everything fits. Right, so that's given us a really nice finish. Unfortunately, I have managed to split one of them. Either the joints weren't square or the joints were too big, and I've managed to put a crack in one of those, which looks really strange. Maybe the wood was a bit bowed. So we'll glue that. So we should be okay there. Right, so I've just glued and clamped the top, just to see if we can get rid of that seam. I've also chamfered the inside a little bit and sorted the side out because it is a little bit bowed, so that's what's causing that problem. Not a great deal we can do about that now, so we'll get cracking with the back though. Right, so I've just taken a look on the computer to work out how far we need to move this up. Let me see if I can show you. So there's a measurement that's not marked, and that's how far this line is from the top of that point there, and that's 30mm. So what I think we need to do is just move that up 15mm, and that'll bring us 15mm into this one and leave us 15mm into this one, and that should be perfect. Right, as you can hopefully see, that gives us our 50 in between those 2 points. So 10 in from each side, so 70 between the two outer lines, and then 50 in between the two inner lines. Right, so that's the tenons cut on the back piece now. So we'll go on and cut the mortises on the sides now. Right, so I've done a little bit off camera. What I've done is I've finished the tenons on the back piece. and I've just cut in the sides so I know how much to recess on the side panels. So I've drawn that out on each side. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freehand that with a router. Hopefully it won't make too much of a mess. Right, so that's all the pieces cut now. As you can see, we've got our tenons cut. Hopefully you can see that. Sorry, I've got our Dados cut in there. So should we see if it all fits together? Right, so hopefully you can see that now. That's all gone together quite well. All looks good. Got some really nice joinery. Looks really tidy. Unfortunately that crack, the glue is not set properly, so I'm going to glue that and leave that overnight. So that'll be the back piece, we'll have our design on there. So it'll look a little bit like that on there. And then we've got that piece to cut on the sides as well, at the same level as the one on the back. So that should all come out real nice. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing. I hope you have a great day. See ya!